Do you know that a narrow water passage can cost billions of dollars in damage to any country within hours? Not a missile, not a cyber attack, just geography. A single maritime corridor can disrupt energy markets, shake stock exchanges, and force military powers into immediate action. That corridor is the Strait of Hormuz. Nearly 1/5 of the world's traded oil moves through this passage every day. If it is disrupted for 72 hours, the consequences are not theoretical. They are immediate. Fuel prices surge, shipping contracts freeze, insurance costs explode, markets react before governments do. This is not about one country. This is about leverage built into the map itself. The Strait of Hormuz connects the Persian Gulf to the open ocean. On one side sits Iran. On the other side sits Oman. Through this narrow corridor, oil flows from Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Kuwait, the United Arab Emirates, and Qatar. Major economies depend on this route. China depends on it. India depends on it. Japan and South Korea depend on it. There are alternative pipelines, but they cannot replace the full export volume quickly or completely. That is why Hormuz is not just a shipping lane. It is a pressure point inside the global system. Now imagine tensions rise, not a declared war, not an invasion, just escalating confrontation. Naval patrols increase. Drone surveillance expands. A commercial tanker reports harassment. Insurance firms begin reviewing risk exposure. Some shipping companies pause movement. In modern trade, hesitation alone can trigger economic shock. The first reaction appears in financial markets. Oil prices climb sharply because traders price risk instantly. Investors shift towards safe assets. Gold rises. Equity markets fall. Airline stocks drop due to rising fuel costs. Energy companies surge. Confidence evaporates before any physical blockade occurs. And in energy markets, confidence is everything. By the end of the first day, the shock spreads outward. Asian economies feel pressure first because many rely heavily on Gulf energy imports. Refineries adjust output planning. Airlines hedge fuel contracts. Shipping rates increase due to insurance uncertainty. Exporting nations face another dilemma. Oil that cannot leave fills storage terminals. Ports slow operations. Analysts begin using a phrase that carries historical weight. Energy shock. Once that phrase enters the market, inflation expectations shift. Central banks monitor closely. Bond markets react. All of this can unfold within 24 hours. By the second day, the crisis becomes strategic. Naval forces increase presence in the region. Minesweeping vessels prepare for deployment. Surveillance intensifies across the strait. The geography of Hormuz creates vulnerability. At its narrowest point, shipping lanes are tight. A single disabled tanker can restrict movement. A few sea mines can create widespread fear. Iran has historically invested in asymmetric maritime capabilities, such as fast attack boats, coastal missile systems, sea mines, and drones. The goal in such a scenario would not be conventional naval dominance. It would be disruption. Because disruption alone is enough to move global markets. On the other side, the United States and allied navies possess overwhelming conventional power. Aircraft carriers, destroyers, surveillance aircraft. But clearing mines requires time. Escorting commercial vessels requires coordination. Preventing escalation requires discipline. Every additional hour increases global pressure. Diplomatic channels activate quietly behind the scenes. Because fuel prices are rising worldwide, and prolonged instability benefits no one. If disruption continues into the third day, secondary effects emerge. Refineries reduce output due to uncertainty in supply scheduling. Shipping delays ripple through global supply chains. Diesel prices increase. Transportation costs rise. Food prices begin reflecting higher logistics costs. Construction materials become more expensive. Consumer confidence weakens. Stock markets enter correction territory, driven by fear rather than confirmed shortages. Governments discuss releasing strategic petroleum reserves to calm markets. Energy agencies consider coordinated action. But the deeper consequence is psychological. If a major maritime chokepoint can be disrupted for 72 hours without resolution, global assumptions begin to change. Insurance companies redesign long-term risk models. Shipping firms explore alternative routes and long-term diversification strategies. Energy importing nations accelerate pipeline expansion and alternative supply agreements. Renewable energy investment is reconsidered not only as a climate policy, but as a national security strategy. The crisis becomes larger than oil. It becomes a question of strategic stability and the reliability of global trade corridors. Historically, the Strait of Hormuz has not remained fully closed for extended periods. Even during previous regional conflicts, shipping was disrupted, but not permanently halted. The reason is simple. All parties understand the consequences. Blocking Hormuz damages global markets, but it also damages regional economies that depend heavily on energy exports. Long-term instability harms both producers and consumers. This mutual vulnerability creates deterrence, but deterrence works only when escalation remains controlled. In high-tension environments, miscalculation becomes the greatest risk. A drone strike misinterpreted. A naval collision misunderstood. A mine discovered triggering immediate retaliation. Major crises often begin with minor incidents. That is why Hormuz represents more than a shipping route. It represents a structural vulnerability in the global system. If the Strait of Hormuz were disrupted for 72 hours, the world would not collapse. But it would feel significant pressure. Oil prices would surge. Markets would shake. Military forces would reposition. Diplomats would scramble to restore stability. Every energy-dependent nation would be reminded that global stability often depends on narrow passages of water. The question is not whether Hormuz matters. The question is how long the world can rely on it remaining open. Because in geopolitics, the most dangerous crises are not always explosive. Sometimes they are pressure points embedded in geography. And pressure, over time, forces decisions.